I haven't heard any word from the other three. Has anybody got an idea about Tom and Dave and
Dave's here.
Morgan?
I'm here.
Oh, there's Dave.
Sending Morgan a message to see if he's joining.
Okay, can anybody hear me?
Yep, I got you.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Huh. Okay, Rob says that I'm heard, but I can't hear anybody. I show everybody's microphone muted.
So on the lower left hand of the Zoom screen, do you see something that says audio?
Hey, Rob, he said he can't hear anybody, so he probably can't hear you ask that question.
That's true. Okay. Let me text that here. Okay, I just sent him a text with the instructions on how to change the audio output by
Found it. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Somebody forgot to tell me there's a speaker button on my keyboard that I have to hit. So, geez. Okay. Anybody heard from Tom or Morgan?
I sent Morgan a text asking if he's joining the board call, and I didn't get a delivered, which I typically do, which means either his phone is off or he's out of range. So I will shoot Tom McGuire a text as well.
Okay.
Okay, we got Tom now, Bill. So now we're just down to missing Morgan.
I was surprised he had said that Tuesday was available. Originally, he had said Tuesday he wasn't available, so I'm not sure. We'll give him a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I had thrown out the 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, work for everyone, and Morgan replied, works. Thank you. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, well, it's getting close to 10 minutes past, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It'll be a general meeting, or excuse me, a special meeting. I apologize. And we will move to executive session. So we'll need a meeting to start at 5:40. And we'll need a roll call.
Karen,
Here.
Rob,
Here.
Ryan,
Here.
Tom.
Here.
I'm here.
Okay.
No Morgan.
Well, he will try and catch up. The meeting is recorded. Karen, I know you've questioned that in the past. The attorney had felt that they can be recorded and they are used for information purposes and not publication. So can I get a motion to move to executive session?
I'll make that motion, Rob.
In a second,
I'll second.
thank you. Discussion on that. Hearing none, we'll go for a vote. Roll call.
Karen,
Aye.
Rob,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yep.
Tom.
Aye.
I'm a yes.
Okay. So we have several things that we can discuss tonight that are centered around employees, which is kind of our primary thing, which I want this to be an open discussion. I want everybody to feel as though they can have a say and have their opinion heard. I don't want to get into any uh, mean-spirited or hurtful conversation. Uh, we we know what we have to do, so we have to get this done. And as I see it, we have two employees who have they've chosen to resign from their positions. And so that the reason for that appears to be what goes on in the office. And what goes on in the office seems to have been related to the programming for the gate and the communications and those things that have gone on. So we can start in a lot of different places, but I think we need some clarity on the gate and what good has happened and what problems they've come about. And I know obviously Ryan is pivotal in all of that's going on. And I know Dave has helped through that work. So I would appreciate it. And if you feel comfortable, Ryan, giving us an explanation about where the gate is and what you feel have been maybe some of the roadblocks or some of the stumbling points that we've have to overcome, and where you think we can go from here and how we can make this a smoother transition if we can. So
Could we, hey, Bill, sorry to interject, but can we get background from the office on, so 2 employees quit? Like which employees and when did that happen and
Well,
why?
I think we could move forward to that
Okay,
because I think that's what's going to, I mean, that becomes a result of what's going on. Their reason, as it is it been explained to me, and I have not received any written notification, and nor has Fieldstone received any written notification from either of them. But and Karen can fill us in a little bit on what goes on. But I think we need to start with what goes on and where that goes and how that leads up to Arlene and Shauna resigning.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan?
Yeah, so to date, we have 596 rows, which means credentials inserted. That is a combination of both cards and RFID tags. That's a pretty solid number considering we've only been actively promoting it for maybe the last week, mostly through the holiday weekend. Users, we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think it was like 800 roughly through PropTia. That does include your vendors, which we're setting up. I'll come to that in a second. And landowner, primary owners with associates that we are manually inserting after we check against deeds like spouses, as we agreed upon. It's only the spouse getting put in there. I want to give a tremendous shout out to Steve. Steve has basically lived in the office around the office and the gate for pretty much the entire holiday weekend. He would be the only person who has done that the entire holiday weekend. And guess where he's at right now? He's at the gate still managing. We had Jason, no, not Jason. We had Chad with Elite come up today. We switched over. Old cards no longer work. We are 100% live with PropTia. 100%. Old cards will not work. Old codes will not work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will not work. We have tested all of these things. Steve now is doing the vendors accordingly in the system as we kind of set up the way they need to go. We can change this if we decide, but we went with PIN codes for vendors, and each vendor, like FedEx, would get a number, USPS would get a number, and they're permanent numbers. That way, no one's fumbling with QR codes, and we can type in that number and look up the photo every time someone types it in. So if you give UPS a number and you type that number into search, and one of those photos shows a black F-150, that's not UPS. The number's been compromised. All we got to do is go change the number. When UPS comes back through, we can reissue a number. It's pretty straightforward. The vendors are labeled. We're not doing vendors as in like contractors. We're talking about like the gas companies, people that go to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 residents at a time internally. So that's, like I said, UPS, USPS, well, not USPS because they're stopping at the gate, but FedEx, Marigas, Abney Solar, Middleton Septic, Greenberg Excavation, stuff to this nature. And we can curate this list. It's just to get us going since we are switched over. And yeah, people are coming in and learning how to put their RFID tags on. Where with Steve up there, he's able to actively help them. I on the back end am checking credentials as they go in, how they're inputted, and then on top of helping people through Facebook and the website, everything is on my end, and Steve's end is being checked against deeded owners through the county, through the website has been established, so on and so forth. I have put out several emails, as we've seen, about the gate system, but we are where we said we would be on the day that we said we'd be there. And now it's a matter of bringing back people into, or rehiring into the office to train. Since now Shauna is no longer an employee, I did go into the office today, and our new employee, I will say nothing but good things about her. She was very receptive to the help. She had many questions. I gave her all the resources to reach out to me when she needs it. Steve was in there as well. But just like every step of the way, we're still learning. Steve's still learning. I'm still learning. The new lady's still learning. Chad is still learning, and he's the installer. We're all learning together. I think we got Prop Tia down pretty well. The website's been down for a minute. When I say been down, it's set up, not down as in not operational. So as we stand, it's mostly just the trickling in of people wanting RFID tags. Who we're going to give those to. There may be some more questions we can bring up. I've already reached out to people who had questions on that. We can talk about it at the next actual meeting, since this is going to be a little bit on the shortened end for meetings. But yeah, that's where we are. That's where we are. I'm just going to say it again. If Steve had not stepped up, I do not know where we would be this weekend. I mean, when I say stepped up in a big way, we almost had to go grab him and throw him in his house to lock him in, because he was not going to give up his post. And yeah, the rest is history, I guess. So that's where we are.
Got it. Okay. I'll start with a couple of questions. There was a couple of times over the weekend that the computer in the office goes down. Is that a problem with the computer? Is that a problem with our internet access? What causes that to go down? So it seems like it does it quite regularly.
Okay, when you say go down and you don't even know the details, or even you were told that it goes down, I'm going to be shooting from the hip. But whenever excuse me for not knowing her name, the new office employee, she couldn't get the computer to turn on yesterday. It was just an input issue, easily resolved. It did not go down. It was just a function of selecting a different input, and the display came up. Newer monitor, newer computers, they do have multiple inputs. She did turn the computer off, unbeknownst to her. That's not, I guess, the standard. I really don't know what the standard is. But yeah, that's what happened. Now, for other events of the computer going down, quote unquote, I cannot answer that. I've not been informed one single time of a computer going down. And that goes with the phones too. Apparently they have gone down 1 to 10 to 20 to 30. I don't even know the number of times. No write-up on the symptoms, no write-up on the resolve, no explanation on how to make it better, no questions, no comments outside of the office itself. So if you're asking me in communications, I cannot answer the question that you have presented for that.
Okay, so this becomes one of our stumbling blocks, where I had received 2 messages from Steve on 2 separate occasions where he had to go into the office prior to this weekend in order to do something with the computer, whether it be started or if there was an issue getting something done on it, and he was able to accomplish or be successful on both times. So there isn't anything communication wise or whatever. And I guess we'll drop back to the office in a second with Karen. There isn't anything that gives us a report that something went wrong and how it was fixed, what went wrong and how it was repaired. That process, as you know, it doesn't exist.
If you're asking me there, Bill, that I'm going to say it doesn't exist, but one of the two occasions was definitely yesterday. And we did get that fixed pretty quickly with just a push of a button and people not knowing that there was a button on the back of the monitor.
Okay. Then on the gate pieces that have come through, there was questions earlier on about, my choice was to make the 2 cards free to the landowner. And you had come up with what I thought was an excellent idea to allow them to donate. So we're to that point where we have the ability, I believe, to take on the donations if a landowner should wish to do so. Is that correct, or is that something that still needs to be done?
On the website side, we are fully capable of taking donations. We're somewhere in the ballpark of, I think, $600 in donations through just word of mouth, Facebook posting, speaking to neighbors, so on and so forth. The sign is currently up on the desk, but that took a little bit more than it should have to get put up. One of the training sessions that Mary had brought to the office, that was part of moving forward with the holiday weekend, since we knew we were going to have an influx of our landowners come through the gate wanting to pick up cards, wanting to know about cards, wanting to know about anything gate related. It's all new to a lot of people, as we're aware. And there was definite pushback on that until some email exchanges took place, and then now it's there. It's sitting underneath the little glass top of the desk. Our current single office employee is definitely asking if people want to donate in a very professional manner. I watched her do it today. People are very reluctant to donate. That's fine, but at least they are aware. And they can read the little sign if they like. But if they don't want to donate, they can get their cards regardless. Same thing I'm saying. Just spreading the word that free of charge. You can go pick them up if you don't want to pay a dime. But we are out X number of dollars, so on and so forth. So, yeah, that's where we are with the donation. I believe that there are donations being taken in the office via cash or other means. I haven't seen it. I don't know how that's actually being collected and tracked and monitored. That's outside of me. Again, like I said, today was the first time I've been in the office since our last little special meeting. So that's where we are with that.
Okay. That covers some of the stuff that I've come up against. Now, the rest of you, what questions do we have about the gate? What have you heard from members that have talked to you? Or, by the way, other than within the board, I have not had, but except one questionable email or phone call about the gate. I mean, even Bob Blevins was able to work through it and was real happy with the way it worked and thought it was a good program. So I've had nothing but positive response for the most part. Anybody else?
This is Rob. I was just gonna commend the team because this is a monumental change and everybody hates change. And so for seeing as little negative talk on like our Facebook page, at least, that's pretty incredible for this big of a change. So, and yes, I would definitely echo your sentiment, Ryan, as far as Steve and his time volunteered and that sort of thing. That's based on what I've heard, that we would have been up the creek without him this weekend. So
My short time up there today, early this morning, there's only been a couple people pull in and couldn't get their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to work. And I tell them, well, you need to pull over to the side over there and contact the landowner. And they had no problem doing that. And the landowner had no problem coming down there and getting them set up to get in. So I haven't heard anything bad about the gate. They all know it's going to be for the better, and they are very receptive of it. So other than that, I have not heard anybody complain. I've heard some that we'll bring up, like Ryan mentioned. Also, I've heard about the RFID tags, and we can work through that in our board meeting.
What's that issue? I'm sorry.
Were they their truck is company owned?
Oh, that one. Okay. Yeah.
So I've heard that. So that's one we're going to have to find a workaround for some of these people.
I stepped
well,
in
I was
on
just gonna,
Friday.
Hold
I
on.
was just gonna add that, the other thing on the, office side with this new hire, I've heard from, more than one person now that, she's excellent. So great job, Karen, on this new hire. Although it sounds like she's got quite the burden on her shoulders now. So, but I've heard nothing but good things so far.
Morgan, you had a
Okay.
comment?
Yeah, sorry. I swung in on Friday, and Steve and Karen were in there, and Steve was, super happy to be there and happy to help. And I just wanted to check in and make sure everything is okay. And he seemed like he had it all handled, and Karen was busy on the computer. So it seemed to go pretty well when I was in there.
I will say, Rob, that you mentioned the Facebook postings. I probably have several dozen direct messages. I'm going through both the resident page and our official page and finding those people who are saying, "Oh, I can't figure any of this out," and getting them one-on-one and literally walking them through the process, showing them screenshots, showing them press this button, press that button. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't work. We tried again. They eventually, I would say 99% of all the people that I've helped, they got in and they said, "Oh my God, this is so amazing." And off they went. Haven't heard from them since. We had an individual come in this morning, landowner. He already had access to Proptia. He didn't know what buttons to press when he hit the e-pass. He didn't realize that it went to his email. He could barely find email. And I understand it's all new, but man, once I showed him, he was happy as a clam. He was like, "That's it." And I'm like, that's it. It's just a matter of being shown once or twice, and then people are off to the races. So
Nice.
again, it's a new feature, but it's just a small learning curve for us all.
Okay. Karen, Tom, do you have any questions or comments on it?
I don't.
I know,
Okay.
other than everything that I've read and heard, my son was up this weekend and he said it was super. So congratulations to everybody that worked on it, and thank you.
I guess, Bill, can I ask Karen, you were there on what day, Saturday?
I was there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, Friday, Saturday, but I was curious, from your eyes, what kind of feedback you had about people's experience with the gate, I guess, since I wasn't there.
Well, it is a new change for a lot of people, and my concern in the demographics that we have, that we haven't met all their needs, the older generation, but we'll work through it.
Okay, well, Karen, then moving on to getting closer to the reasoning for Shauna and Arlene, can you give us an update from the office standpoint on what's happening here? I know you and I have had some discussions prior to this, and I think you raised a lot of valid points that need to be brought up to all seven of us, and we need to hear what you have to say and be able to discuss it openly. So if you could kind of give us your opinion on the office, Ryan, did gate and communication, and thank you very much for that. And we can always refer back to something if we need to, but if you could kind of help us understand the office and what's going on there.
Well, the girls felt very hostile. They felt we scrambled. We got the first training for all this last Sunday, so a week of all this, 3 hours of training, and all the processes that we had in place before to make sure that we were legal as an association. And I always look at it as anyhow, Rob, I'm going to, just so you know, not finish many sentences tonight because there's a lot going on. But we worked really hard at making sure previous to all this that we had the right people, blah, blah, blah. So we scrambled to get all of our processes in place, like how do we let our vendors in, just that kind of stuff, because that's what this office has always done. The other thing that we've done is always track the key cards, because many, many times the key cards are turned back in. Oh, I've lost it, shut off. Then they come back in, oh, I found it. So now we have a valuable key card. So we have to track all those. We were told no big deal, but you can't turn them over if you're buying them from different facilities. One of the things that this two-factor authentic, thing was that you had to have a facility code and the outside code. Well, you have to know what that facility code is a year down the road. So we scrambled to try to get our processes in place to make sure that we could go forward, not just what we've always done, but that we have a valid process or anyhow. So that was a scramble. I went back to work on Monday. We talked about it, the girls and I spent Monday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon at work building the Excel sheet. I ran it up Tuesday night so that we could get this in order so they could do their job for not just getting people in, but long term. That's what this office has to do, is look at these processes long term. Anyhow, at that point, we didn't know about that a decision was made on the donation. There was no communication to me, to the office, that Bill had made the decision to do the donation. So anyhow, when I finally got a hold of Bill and we figured it all out, then I called the girls and said, please shut the office so that we could have, they were both in there, so we could have a meeting to talk about how do we need to say it, what does it look like, where does the money go, blah, all of that. It's very hard to have it when you have lots of people walking in and out. In the middle of the meeting, a director came in, banged on the door, where they're like, we're having a meeting. Well, why? And questioned it. And they felt really attacked. And it was like, they were just feeling like they were questioned on everything. They were attacked on everything. So many of the processes that we had, Mary's a wonderful person, but she couldn't answer why and what. And here's this process we know we need to have for long term. And anyhow, it was overwhelming. So then all these emails came out that said, we're going to shut the codes off the 3rd. Well, we're still trying to figure out how to process RFID tags and payments, because as you know, they come in 2 different ways. They don't necessarily correlate together. So you're printing off things because, again, we want these people, every landowner, to sign for that RFID tag. We want them to sign for it so we know who picked it up if it's a husband and wife, then, oh, your wife picked him up or your husband picked him up. We needed tracking. And so we were scrambling again, talking about how do we make this work? And Shauna put in over 40 hours last week helping out. And then, you know, with the entering the meeting, we were trying to figure, you know, processes out, and they felt very, very attacked. It's very hostile, and they were just done. When I talked to them the weekend, they're like, why? We're just done. They felt, you know, Shauna has a good bully case. I'm sorry, but she does. Both her and Arlene, because there's been many comments made on email about Arlene's too slow, she can't handle it. She's trying very hard. And as a 14-year employee, I think we needed to support that. But that support didn't come. If I hadn't have said, we have to all train together, there would have been no training for Arlene. So it's those kinds of things that is very frustrating, because they work very hard on behalf of all the landowners. And every person on the communications committee had more than 3-hour training on all of this process. So then here's the other struggle. The bylaws say deeded owners via the county. There's not an LLC or a trust named in PropTIA. Those, if your property is in an LLC, that has to be the name in PropTIA. It's not the managing person, it's the LLC. That's the legal way this should have been set up. Unfortunately, it didn't get set up that way. So we're all struggling to figure out who goes with who's, you know, we're looking for the person in PropTIA and they're not showing up. How come? Oh, are you an LLC? Oh, yeah. Well, so anyhow, there was a lot of just, you're just at the point of, they were done. They felt very unappreciated, very hostile with some board members. And they're kind of like, why are we doing this? So kind of a little bit of background. Shauna was sick Friday morning, so I took a half a day off and went up and worked the office on Friday afternoon, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and trained Anita to the best of our ability, because there was a lot of people that came in a panic. Unfortunately, on Friday or Saturday, a landowner came in who last year plowed my driveway for nothing and told Ron, oh, just let Karen know they just did it because, you know, Merry Christmas, Karen. Thank you very much. This year he walked in and explained to me, you are full of shit, Karen. That's what he said to me. I don't do this right. I don't do that right. I don't do anything right. I'm just full of shit. So I'm kind of like, where did all that come from? Because I didn't have a conversation with him from, 20 words in the last year. So anyhow, it's not good. It's not good. This morning, my employee, the employee, not mine, the employee is trying to figure out how to get the money dropped in the safe. She was overwhelmed. You're trying to get all these people you're trying to track the money, get them, you got people waiting, you're trying to, put in RFD tags or cards and put the money in the the cash register. And so it was very overwhelming, and the money envelope was full. Nobody called me. She let me know later, but nobody called me to ask me, what should they do? So Steve got in the middle of it. Dave got in the middle of it. They called Arlene. Arlene was like, well, I'm not an employee there. I can't, you know, what it would have just been nice if somebody would have just said, hey, Karen, I answer my phone all the time at work. What do we need to do? And easy fix was take the envelopes, put them in the locking gray file cabinet. She's going to be in there all day. They're locked up. We'll call Charlene and see if she can make a deposit or open the safe and rearrange so that she can get more things in. Easy fix. But it became a huge to-do when it would have been just so then I'm like scrambling, like, I don't know who said what. I don't want to give the employee, she doesn't need 5 people talking at her. She doesn't understand. She's still trying to get trained. We're still walking through stuff. We've made an agreement to call and talk every night to walk through issues. What are they? What do they do? There's a lot of things that those 2 employees just did all the time that they just knew. So it was very sad that they felt like unsupported and a very hostile work environment, that they were just like, we're done. The struggle was they felt really bad walking out on me, which was really sweet of them. But I'm like, I'll cover the office and make sure, because it still affects all our landowners. They don't know what's going on, and they shouldn't know what's going on. But yeah, so Steve and I worked all day Saturday, and he did a great job, and I think I did a great job. But it was really it was very sad that they felt the way they felt.
Okay, so thank you. What questions, comments?
Yes, I got a comment.
Okay.
Got a couple of them. In fact, I'll read exactly what I texted out to Karen this morning. And, or excuse me, what Karen texted to me. She said, good morning, Dave. I've got a phone call from Arlene. She will not be meeting you at the front office to give you keys for Stacy. This is going to be a board decision and discussion tonight, so thank you very much. I replied, I don't care about Stacy's keys. We need the safe open so we can adjust all that has been put into it so more can be added. We have more than that will fit in right now, so please have her stop by to help. And that's when she said, put the money in the envelope in the grave. And I was already gone, so I said, I will let you pass those instructions on. I'm not available. That's how that went down. If you want to know the exact wording that Karen and I had back and forth. And when I was up there, there wasn't 5 or 6 people in the office. It was Steve and Anita. That was the only ones in the office when I was up there this whole time. The only ones. So embellishment isn't helping out here.
Well, this is what I didn't embellish, that what I had. That's the message I got from Arlene this morning. Exactly that. Dave called me and wanted me to come open up the thing and get the keys so Stacy could help in the office. Okay, so that's what she said to me. And I'm like, that's why I responded. No, she's not going to stop. She didn't want to stop because she didn't want to open the thing and give you the key. So unfortunately,
she had no problem doing that, Karen. She said she'd be up there in about 30 minutes and she'd meet me up there. And then that's when she called you and everything got changed.
Okay, so all I know is what she said to me. So
I'll just add to this real quick. This is Rob. Charlene and I communicated today, and she committed to doing the cash drop tomorrow. Because I know we've got the overflowing safe issue into the filing cabinet, so she's gonna do that tomorrow. A quick reminder, as I brought up at the last board meeting, she would like to be done doing this, and I kind of put the word out that I'm going to be looking for a person who's willing and able to do it. And Stacy did step up and say that she'd be more than happy to help with that, which is fantastic. She already has a background check done. So to me, that seems like that would be an easy pick. That being said, Tommy did bring up a good point, and I need to ask the attorney if there is any, this smells like an employee type of situation, to make sure we're not violating anything there. So
And Rob, I know of someone else who may be willing to, at minimum, sit in and take notes on how that whole operation works. In the event we do need another volunteer, or we would like to do 2 volunteers, or we do commit in the future to doing employee only. But Stacy's not the only one. I just want to make that clear. But it may or may not be contingent. I will shuttle over to the screen I'm sharing, so everyone can kind of get a grasp on how our credentials are inserted into PropTIA. This FC number, that 100 is the code, the facility code. That's what it stands for. All the boxes of code, or all the boxes of cards and RFID tags on the outside have a facility code. The next number is the card or tag number itself. So you have to have both of these numbers put in for this credential to register with the system and do something. This credential type tells you what it is: prox card, windshield tag, headlight tag. We went through and manually set this up so where there weren't extra options, and only the options we're providing will show up to avoid confusion. Status, it shows active. You can literally come over here and unassign it, deactivate, sorry, excuse me. Unassign it, deactivate it, or delete it. If you delete it, it completely goes away. You have to pay $1 again to put it back in the system. If you unassign it, it'll remove the person assigned. As you see, there's a name. If you deactivate it, everything will stay the same. It just won't work. It'll go into a different stage. There's not one up at the top, but it'll be red here where it says active. You see there's an address associated to it. There's a name associated to it. There's a date. This stuff is recorded. You do not need to write this stuff down anywhere else. This is literally captured in real time, stored forever. All you need to do is make sure that the address is correct and the person picking them up is who they say they are. And then you can hand them out. And then when you need to know if they've already collected too, you can type in their address. All you have to do is go to properties. I'm showing this real time. I'm going to do myself. Address only. I'm here. 2 cards. I have 2 cards. That's how quick that is. I understand it's new. I had to learn this. I have not had more than 3 hours of communication and training. I have had sit in my office for days, overlooking and learning, teaching. Mary doing the same thing, teaching. Mary has days of hours in days of both at home training herself to present this and presenting this. She put on in-person training at the event center. Who all showed up? 5, 10 people. Who didn't show up? The other 700, 1,400, however many. So when people don't show up and want to be trained, they're going to try to do it in real time, just like we've done it. And then they go on Facebook or they go on somewhere else and they walk into the office and say, this is all dumb. And guess what? We're managing that. I have been eating shit on Facebook for the past week, slowly getting people to change their tone. I understand that this is new, but at the same time, you can't put someone in here who can't even type in www.google.com. I understand it's going to sound brash, but if you can't operate at the speed at which it takes to get the thing done, then that needs to be communicated. You saw how fast I just did that. Yes, I have a lot of experience with this over the past week from doing it all weekend, all last week. But this information, if you put it in there right, it will work and it will be captured. I'm going to show you how fast to go back to credential list. 2 clicks. We're there. I can scroll down 100. I can tell you exactly how many there are because it tells you at the bottom. 596. You want to see what happens whenever people come up to the gate? Reporting, live monitor, picture. Look at that. Access denied, invalid code. Who's that? I don't know. This is how great this software is. And this software is not that advanced. We're not coding here. We're just data inputting. I know it's new. I know people take longer to learn things like this. But it also takes proper management to say, hey, we're drowning. And we had a whole group of volunteers who wanted to do something for the weekend. And they basically said, you know what? This is not going to work for me because no one is actually following the information being given and regurgitating either A, I'm learning, or B, I'm not. I have multiple landowners who have told me directly to my face, and I've actually heard it. Arlene was literally telling landowners, Ryan can take this software and shove it up his ass. Now, that may be true. I'm guilty of presenting this to the board. We all voted on it. We're operating under it. People are going to be upset because it's new. And on certain days, yeah, I probably deserve some shit shoved up my ass. But to be professional and claim professionalism and do that in the office, I'd rather be shit on by every landowner for not understanding how to use it than the people who are trying to learn it to teach it and they're not learning it. And they're incapable of saying they're learning it. And then they threaten to sue me. Because let's be honest, you're threatening me. You're not threatening the board. You're just using the board as leverage. So I'm pretty pissed to say the least. But this shit is easy, man. This shit is easy. This shit is easy.
Okay, I got a question before you skip by it, and thank you for the demonstration. And I appreciate I appreciate the ease. The software is phenomenal. It is very good, and even I was able to get registered, which was pretty amazing. You don't know, but anyhow, you go back to the 3-hour watch. I was under the impression that 3-hour watch was going to be up there Friday, Saturday, possibly Sunday to help with this, and then that went away. I have not been made aware of why 3-hour watch decided not to do that. Do you have any more details on that? I
They
know
were up at the
Michelle's.
They were at the gate. They were at the gate Friday morning, almost all day. They were there Saturday. Yes, they were there.
Okay.
They were in person, had their little dining canopy set up for shade. They were there.
Okay. So all that came out because I thought that was a great idea that should come and do part, that beats greeting them when they come through the gate. They actually were serving a greater purpose. But so that action did occur. Ryan, you had mentioned that they walked away because something wasn't made clear to them or we weren't following a particular set pattern. I wanted to know what that comment was related to so that I know, because I think the 3-hour watch is a very important part of what we've got going here. And I don't want to jeopardize that relationship. So if there is something, I want to address it with them and talk to them about it and understand what we have to do to change.
We have more landowners that are willing to do extra work as long as they are not having to jump hurdles higher than they're capable of jumping in order to help. This is a common theme. This is nothing new. But there was talk of a handful of volunteers bringing in their own personal iPads and computers and setting up all in the office and spreading the load for all the landowners coming in wanting their cards, wanting their credentials, wanting any of that nature, wanting help with the website, wanting help with PropTIA, wanting help with the application, so on and so forth. But whenever you push people into that type of corner, they don't want the stress of the help. They want to just help. And so when you have the management of the office basically saying things that are not true, i.e., Ryan can shove this up his ass because this sucks, versus saying, hey, I'm struggling, can please people help? Because that's your dichotomy of proper leadership and having the people below you comfortable and sharing what they are truly feeling versus just blaming it on someone else. I don't blame Arlene for not being able to keep up. We all know that. We are supportive of that. But if we all think that we don't have people that are wanting to help, but we have a bunch of people who are in the position to do the job, making it more difficult for the help to come in and help, what do you expect?
Okay, so let me get just a little bit further down the hole. You just said that they were going to come in and set up their laptops. They were going to get ready to go and be in the office. Then then Arlene's comments had deterred some of them, and the rumor got around and word got around to the rest of the 3-hour watch group that was there. And that's when they decided that they would stay outside under their canopy and take a lesser role in what was going on. Is that correct, or what did I miss?
That's the basis of that is correct. I believe your watch group has reduced in size over the past week or two. I do know that one of the persons that was offering up their computer services and their computer devices was actually at the gate. I was standing there with her for probably over 2 hours. She was doing a very, very good job of communicating and asking open-ended questions to get people to really think, because on the back of the handout was talking about Proptia, but that's no different than an email. I mean, people are going to read or they're not going to read. But whenever you say, what's your code? And they go, oh, it's the same one I've used for 7 years. Well, then you have a little bit more to work with. I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but like what was offered up was for people to be in the office on top of the office employee to
Right.
assist for at least part of the day, the heavy part of the day on Thursday, Friday. But no, they felt that their efforts were going to be more of a struggle than helpful, and that's I can't make people do stuff that they're not willing to do. So
Well,
Okay.
this is the very first I've heard of that offer, and I was in contact with Stephanie, who's in charge of the 3-hour watch. So Steve was in the office Friday, Saturday, and Sunday helping. I guess I'm confused over, yeah, you're making it sound like we said, no, you can't come in here. And I've never heard anybody except for Steve say they would come in and help. And Steve and I worked well together Saturday. I felt like we got a lot done and he did a lot of help with people. And so I'm a little bit confused of who they talked to, because it certainly wasn't me. It wasn't one of the girls. So, but I guess that's a mystery.
Well, I don't think it can be a mystery because we're at this meeting to establish uh, cause and effect, I guess, and communications appears to be, and I don't mean communications committee, I mean communications between groups appears to be one of the issues that we need to address and figure out how to make it work better. I don't know the rest of your feelings, but I feel that 3-hour watch is a very important part, and it's a big deal and needs to be supported totally. And so if they felt as though they were being denied or pushed away, uh, we need to figure out why that happened and make sure that they understand that that was the incorrect attitude. Because, like you say, Karen, if you hadn't heard about it, I hadn't heard about it. Ryan obviously had witnessed some of it. So, but by the time Ryan witnesses it, it's too late. That you're witnessing the damage being done instead of trying to offset the damage. So,
So do you know Stephanie?
me? No.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have met her twice at meetings. She has come
She's-
up and talked to her, but she doesn't ever contact me for anything.
She's very nice, very direct. We have a very good relationship over what she's doing, what I oversee her as the director. I went down to the last meeting that they had. No discussion at all about about putting people in the office to help. So that's concerning. I'd be happy to text her and ask her where this came from, because I have no idea.
Well, that then we'll put down as an action item that we could maybe get a little bit more information on, and we'll update all of us on what transpired there.
Well, you're not going to get people to come forward and show their face and their names and say, I'm not going to do that because of what this is happening and how that's happening. They're just not going to show up. Like you're not going to get people to go that far. Like you have to see the writing on the wall when people start bailing out, and then you say, what's happening to make these people do that? And you have to look internally. I'm just going to say, you got to look internally. And yeah, I've already admitted that I'm a little brash, and we've already gone down this road with a lawyer, but you handicapped your communications person, and then you relied on volunteers to pick up the slack. So I can hear stuff all day long, but at the same time, I can only say so much. So, and whenever you write an email to a group and only 2 people respond, and they're not even the people that it was directed to, I don't really know what you expect, because where I work, I would be fired by now. Like the reason I can sit in here all weekend is because I have an office set up for me to work at home. I have that luxury. I have multiple monitors. I can monitor 8 things at one time. And I can help Steve say, hey, I understand she's trying. This was a mistake. Let's fix it before it gets too deep. I have these luxuries, but you also handicap me. And then you don't respond with a question that's being asked directly. I mean, we can keep going with this all day, but the writing is somewhat on the wall.
Are you directing that at me? Are you questioning me?
I am directing that at you, Karen.
Okay, I just wasn't clear. Part of you do understand that as a board of directors, when you put an email out to everybody and everybody hits reply, that is considered a legal meeting. So I'm relatively sure that Kevin Harker would say, probably not a good idea to put a ton of emails out and asking everybody to reply all, because we've now violated the open meeting law. That maybe. So when I replied to Bill that yes, I could attend the meeting. I think it was. So just for FYI, if that's one of the issues, is maybe other people understand that it's, it's a law that we have to follow. So
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so if 7 people are in an email and one person writes it and asks a question to only one other person who knows the answer, then you're saying that you only send it to Bill instead of the person asking the question? Because if you don't want to break the law, then just send it to the single individual that wrote it, so you don't break the law, and that individual actually knows the answer, or actually has some guidance or some information to work with.
Yeah, there is a difference between informative emails and directive emails. And just to give clarity to it, the legality is that if there is a direct action email sent out, in other words, one director asks for an action to be done with the board other than general information, it requires a unanimous positive vote by all those people involved. So if you don't have one, and we've experienced this before where somebody says no, then you have to have a Zoom meeting, which they allow now, or a meeting in person. So that's a not even a gray area. That's a pretty black and white avenue that we can go down and not really have a problem with. There just seems to be, and not seems to be, there is this adversarial relationship between some of the board members that it's tough to get by, and we need to find a way around it. I had a almost 45-minute conversation with Randy Panic explaining to me how you have to have a board that is always unanimous. And I had trouble explaining to him that that's not necessarily true, in that people have differing opinions. If you have the right as an associate member up there, even though you're on the board of directors, to have a contrary opinion to what the board is doing. You need to be able to voice that opinion. You can't just say, well, I'm going to go along with it because we want to have a unanimous board. I find that actually kind of insulting, because I don't want to agree with everything. I didn't agree with everything that he did. And I don't expect everybody to agree with everything that I do, but I do expect to give people the opportunity as a director. I feel that you have the ability to make decisions and get out and do something and not have to suffer ramifications from other board members that it was the wrong thing to do, or it was the outcome was terrible or whatever. Hey, sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss, but you work forward. That you make something happen, and hopefully it goes well. If it doesn't, if there's problems within it, you work together to fix it. But your opinion matters, whether it's contrary or in agreement. Your opinion still matters. So, again, going back to this adversarial relationship where we're not going to be able to talk to one another, that's kind of becoming a problem. And I know, I will admit, Karen and I have had some conversations, and she's made herself known that she doesn't necessarily agree with everything, but I think she is going to try in the future to work through things. And I think that happens, but we still can't surprise somebody by, hey, this is just what goes, I went through and I did this or I did that. And, I'm as much at fault. I was the one who made the decision on the donation, or not the donations, but not passing out 2 free cards. Well, yeah, that was a decision that was made right away, and it was something that I did. I'm told Ryan about it and Steve about it so that they knew, and it didn't go through the rest. That was my problem. That was a mistake I made, and I have to own up to it, make sure that I don't do the same mistake again. So um, that's where I think we're at right now, and I want to get through this office thing, because we're going to hire more people to work in the office, and we don't need to have what I keep being told is a toxic environment. And I don't go in there. I'm not in the office except when during the week when I go up, or on a holiday weekend when I'm there, or whatever. I've not seen the toxic environment, and they don't. Shauna or Arlene never came to me and said that there was a toxic environment. So I don't know. We can't continue like this. We have to be able to get through this. So I need the board to try and come up with a solution here and try and work this thing through.
This is Rob. I kind of feel like the crisis right now at hand is the office and getting it staffed, most importantly. And I checked with Julie just to confirm, where we're at wage wise, and it looks like we've been paying $13.70 per hour per employee, which, believe it or not, is in compliance with the county as far as minimum wage. But I think that we need to strongly consider stepping that up. I know we have a challenge though with the assessments where they're currently at. Maybe the volunteer fund committee can help somehow in the interim or something like that, and put their piggy bank to good use for the general good of the community, and donate something towards some human resources needs that we drastically need. But yeah, I feel like the office staffing is critical. Obviously, if there is a toxicity issue in the office, or they're feeling attacked, that needs to be addressed. But at the same time, we also need employees that run with and embrace the change that the board approves, because the entire board approved all of this. And so we can't have adversaries sitting at the desk at the same time. And I'm not saying this happened, but just as we look on the horizon to restaff, we need people who are going to embrace these changes. I think we're done with major changes for the rest of the year. I don't know, Ryan, would you agree? Like this is it? And maybe we all commit that, okay, no more tech changes. We're done. We're good. We've got everything we need for the remainder of this year. Let's now restaff and also retool how we do processes within the office. There's a lot of work to be done, even just on my side from the treasurer, and cash drops, and do we even do cash anymore? Because once cash gets involved, it gets messy. So but that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, to answer your question, Rob, I think we have prop tier running, we have the website running. We're probably in agreement that the office needs quite a revamp as far as many different aspects. I just need from communications to get us on professional emails so we can stop using our personal. That's my biggest hurdle, I think, for the remainder of the year with that, and just kind of ironing out and getting back on track with, making the website do more than it's probably we're utilizing at the moment, just stuff like that. So yeah, I think we're done with big projects that may or may not upset the residents as a whole.
Okay, well, is there any Dave, Morgan, Tom, jump in? Any comments, questions for Karen?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I still got to follow up on this, Karen. I mean, it's when I text you and Bill wanting to know what's going on at the office Friday morning, I didn't get no reply from you. So you answer Bill, you won't answer me.
No, well, hold tight. Let me look. That was not an intent. When I got the call that she was sick, and I'm trying to cover my own job because I still work full time, and to get that covered so I could go up and open the office. So if that was what I did, then my apologies. It wasn't meant to be that way.
Because Bill didn't know about it till I called him.
Bill didn't know about what?
That there was nobody at the office, and that's when I
Right.
texted you too.
You texted, yes, yeah.
When did we know Shauna wasn't going to be able to be at the office?
Friday morning.
What time?
I don't remember.
Oh, she didn't text you or call you?
I think she called me, but I'll have to look. I don't remember what time. But anyhow, regardless, thank you for letting us know.
When the ladies decided to resign, that when did you find that out? And nobody on the board was notified of that.
Of what?
The ladies quitting.
Oh, okay. Well,
do you not think that's kind of important to run an office and to let the rest of the board members know? So we're right in the middle of a 3-day weekend when we got the biggest crowds coming in. Don't you think that'd be somewhat important for the board members so they could even let the volunteers know? I'm stumped at how this came out. I'm just stumped.
And what would the difference be? The office was covered.
Okay, I guess we can, if you want to play it that way.
No, I
agree.
don't.
The office was covered. I'm not going to argue that point with you.
Right.
Wasn't going to argue that with you.
Huh?
How is it going to be covered?
I'm just
how is it going to be
ready
covered?
to go because
How is it going to be covered if I wasn't up there to get anybody in to do anything without any notification from anybody? We're just going to let it sit there and suffer? Is that the plan?
Okay, so I guess I just let Bill know, just hit reply that I was coming up to cover the office.
Well, yeah, we had it. Dave was the one actually who had initially let me know that there wasn't anybody there. So that's when I had emailed you and asked if Shauna was going to be there, and you had indicated that she was ill.
did you like your nice clean sink and toilet?
Yeah, thank you.
And Arlene was Tom, your mic's there. You go. And Arlene was in Bend shopping, and you couldn't get there until 1 o'clock.
Right.
So yeah, I understood that, but we had people waiting to get in, and I wasn't sure how we were going to do that. So, Dave was the only one I knew that had a key to get in. I understand from now that there are additional keys that need to be available to somebody in the office, which I don't have. I only have the door keys. So I I'm not sure. I don't see, I guess going back to your question, your statement there that it was covered. Was there somebody there at 10 o'clock that you had asked to be there to cover it at 10, or was it just going to open at 1?
It was could just open at 1 because we weren't able to get it covered until 1 o'clock when
Yeah.
I got, and I actually got up there about, I don't know, 12 or so.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
know that. Yeah.
So, and then Shauna was out sick, Arlene was gone, Anita was not available. So I covered Friday afternoon and Saturday and Sunday. So I guess I lost your thought process, Dave. I'm not sure what the question
You
was.
lost the thought process. Isn't it common courtesy to let other board members know what's going on when something happens like that on a major weekend? Wouldn't that be something that the rest of the board should know? I'm flabbergasted by that response.
Okay. So yes, once I wanted to be able to talk to the girls and say, is this really where you want to go? So the same courtesy I gave Stacy, I gave the girls, the other staff. Do you want to think about this a couple days and get back to me? Okay, same courtesy I gave Stacy, I gave the girls. So it didn't affect anybody except for me.
If I beg to differ, there's a loss of funds there because we couldn't get the office opened up. We got people standing there waiting to get their first time credentials because they just bought property. And they're standing there with their realtor waiting to get all this stuff. And we're no answers for anybody. So that left you put the Three Rivers Watch people out there to try to give some type of a reasonable explanation of why that office isn't open. And if you think that's okay, I don't know how that's running a business.
Well, there's many times I'm sure that there are people that don't get to go to work because they're sick and they scramble to find somebody to cover. Okay. So if that's not an okay thing, then I'm sad for you.
I understand people get sick. That is not my point. You're skipping around here. Let's go back to when Shauna and Arlene let you know when they're not coming, they're quitting. We didn't notify anybody. When we don't have anybody up there to go do the work in the morning, we're losing revenue. We got money to make up here.
They didn't let me know they were quitting till Friday night. So what does that have to do with Friday morning?
The Friday morning one's Shauna. I understand that she was sick. I get that. But still,
Okay.
you responded to Bill. You didn't respond back to the group text that I sent out.
A total oversight, not intentional. Absolutely not intentional. I was struggling to try to figure out how do I move what I had going around to go cover. So not intentional at all. And then they let me know Friday night that they were just kind of done with everything. And like I said, gave them the same courtesy I gave Stacy. Think about it and let me know. And they did. So.
Okay, I got one more question for you. What's the heartburn with Stacy in the office?
What is the heartburn?
And I will warn you, I've already been told by an employee. So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag here. That if Stacy comes back on in here, there's going to be problems. And that's a quote.
That probably lots of issues. We had theft. I'll be just straight point honest with you.
So how come wasn't that brought to the board?
Because she resigned. She worked 17 days and put her resignation in. And then
I would be very careful of this because when Stacy hears that, we're going to open up another can of worms.
Okay, just listen. Please. She came on board in April, worked a couple days training, and then was 4 days by herself. So a total of 7 days in April. In May, she worked a total of 10 days. In June, so her last day was May 26th. That was a total of 70 days total between April and May. In June, she did a resignation June 10th. And I called her and I'm like, what's going on? What can we do? And she's like, I just sold my house. I'm like, okay. So what do you think about, I'll cover your shifts this summer, July and August, so that you can come back on the schedule in September. Okay. So I did that, covered all of her shifts. July 29th, so she hadn't worked since the end of June. July 29th, she resigned again, citing how bad everything was, how she was worth more than that. I can send you her email. And the culture in the office was awful.
The email's been out. Bill sent it out to everybody. We all read it. I know exactly what she stated in there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So she worked not in July, not in August. I asked her point blank in an email to turn her keys into Arlene in the office. Then that way I know they were received. Nothing. I emailed her again and said, where's the keys? Oh, I left them under the flower pot on the front. Okay. But here's what's very interesting to me is.
Where's the theft part? Let's get to the theft part.
I'm going there. I'm not saying Stacy stole it. What I'm saying is,
I think you made that pretty clear that there was theft, and you're blaming.
There was theft somewhere because the Bears and Quilts had ticket money. It was missing. We tore the office apart looking for it. Not there. The gun club money was there. All of the garbage money was there. Anything else was there, but that was missing. There were several people in the office at that time when it went missing. Okay. Can't say it was.
So you got, now you're, what are you saying? You got witnesses?
No, I'm saying that there was many other people, board members. There was Beathers in there. There was Stacy was working in there. There was other people in the office with access to the office.
But Karen, I want to go back to the start of this when I asked about Stacy coming back, and now you've turned this into all this theft thing.
What I'm telling you, Dave.
Well, Karen, here's what I'm making my point at is you're trailed off into no man's land here with the story.
Okay.
Stacy, I'm getting back to the same thing. It came from an employee that said if Stacy comes back, there's going to be trouble. This is not good. It's going to get ugly around here. So what's that? And that was, they were quoting what was coming from you. So whatever you've told those people, I don't know. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm not the Bears.
I would not have Stacy. I would not have Stacy back as an employee in the office. That's where that is what I have said.
How do you get to make that decision? How? You want me to make an email and ask you a question for everything I do, and yet you don't ask us for anything. I am blown away at this. I am absolutely blown away. And you know, you told our lawyer that our phone didn't work, and I went digging through the texting between you and I. You literally picked the phone. And like, this is a continuation of what the problem is day in and day out. And now you're blaming an employee of theft?
Okay.
A landowner of theft?
Well, I could say it was one of you.
I dare you. I dare you.
How dare I?
I
Okay,
dare
hold
you.
on, hold
You're
on.
not listening.
Hold on. Wait a
Dave's
minute. Wait a minute.
question.
Wait a minute. I got to go back. Okay. It was wrong to use the comment that money is missing in the conversation with which you were trying to describe why Stacy isn't welcome back. Now, if that is a reason, Karen, that you have, because I would like to know what this is. I would like to know why Stacy would not be welcome back and the office, because through a directive, I can put Stacy back in the office. I can put her in place, and it doesn't have to be a decision made by the office committee. So I want to know it, other than some speculative thing, is there something that Stacy has done that creates a toxic work environment, which is what I think we're describing? Is there something there?
It is the whole process of what she did in the office.
You mean her activity in doing the,
Mhm.
okay,
The
okay.
inconfidentiality, the unconfidentiality that she exhibited. And you're right. You could put her back in the office.
Yeah, I know that. I'm not here to say, if Dave has asked a specific question and deserves a specific answer, and I still am not sure that the answer to, it'll, they'll, all hell will break loose or whatever. I, 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 I'm anxiously awaiting what that comment was instigated from, but I, I, I would like to know, because at one point you and Stacy were very happy with one another. That she worked hard, and I remember you telling me on a Saturday how you and she had stayed and worked and gone through the files and those kind of things. And then all of a sudden it turns. Well, when it turns, there's got to be a reason for that. And if it's going to be hell to pay or whatever, I would like to know what that is.
I did not say at any point hell to pay. That is not the way I would to do it. I was just unhappy with the fact that I know that she was unconfidential, which is something we talked about in all of our staff meetings and when we hired her. That's been a huge thing. She just didn't, it's she left the office. Like I said, she resigned. And then we said, can we cover your shift? The girls needed, the staff that was there was asking, and neither one of them wanted to work full time. That's why we brought the third person on. So then she resigned. And you're like, what the heck? So, okay, so if I cover your shifts, you'll come back in September. So 4th of July weekend, she came through the gate in her car and spent the weekend. So, well, her shift was being covered. Everybody rearranged things to cover, and she was playing.
Are
And
these
I'm like,
the last 2 days of her employment that you're saying were covered because she said she couldn't attend?
these were everything for July and August.
No, you're saying that she came up on a weekend. You can't be on a weekend for 2 months. That's not how life
She
works.
came up 4th of July weekend, and I covered her shift then.
I'm talking about her last 2 days, her last 2 or 3 days that she was scheduled, and she said that she was resigning. Are you talking about being in a pickle to cover those? Is that what we're speaking of directly?
I'm not understanding your question. So
She put in her resignation. She put in her resignation, and she had some days left on a schedule. And you're saying that and I quote, "What the heck? You're resigning. Now I have to figure this out." Are we talking about her last couple of days of employment or lack thereof that is putting you in a situation to cover those days?
She was on the schedule for July. So she worked the 27th, 28th, and 29th of June after she resigned on the 10th. So she worked, then I covered, the girls rearranged the schedule and I covered the July 7th weekend. And then they all rearranged. So she worked nothing in July. And
Okay,
so
let me ask a little more blunt of a question. What was your response whenever she said she resigned? Did you let her carry out the rest of her schedule, or was there a different response? Did you say, yes, I understand you want to resign. You have 3 days left in your schedule, work those out and we'll be done. Is that what happened? Is that how that transpired?
No, it did not. She resigned on the 10th of June. I called her around the 11th or 12th and we talked it over and she agreed to work through the schedule for June. So she worked June and I covered July and August. And then July 29th, she put the email out that she was totally resigning.
Did she or did she not offer to work out the rest of her schedule that was already established, i.e. the last 2 or 3 days? Did she or did she not offer that?
Yes, she did.
What was your response to her offer?
I said, no, thank you.
Okay, you can't say you're in a pickle and then turn away people at the same time.
Okay.
I knew that. I knew what you had said.
Right. See, this is the unconfidential part.
It's unconfidential for me to ask our employee because I'm pretty certain all 7 of us have equal rights to everything involved with this association. Maybe Bill trumping the 6 of us. I could be wrong there. I don't know law front and back. But Karen McBride does not own the office.
Karen McBride never said she owned the office.
No, but whenever you make decisions on behalf of yourself and don't inform others and then accuse other people of doing that in return, that's a one-way street.
Well, that's
the one-way street that you've established. And when we do question you, you don't respond to me. You don't respond to Dave. You only say stuff directly to Bill. And Bill is now left with a pool of so much information that he cannot even fathom keeping up with it.
I have responded to you and I have responded to Dave. I did not, when I was scrambling to cover that shift on Friday, did I not respond to him? So inadvertent, wasn't intentional. You've never, well, it doesn't matter. We can get into piss and match like crazy. The whole point is, Bill is absolutely correct. He may rehire Stacy in whatever position that he wants. Unfortunately, it probably is a really sad thing that would happen. I get you guys all really like her. But as an employee of the office, I felt like she was not our best fit. Very happy with Anita as a new hire. Would love to find somebody else to bring on board. We have a hiring committee that we run through, and that's been that way for forever until Bill said that. Didn't think about bringing him forward to the board, which is a great idea. Great idea. Will happen on the next one when we get through running them through the interview process and the background check and bring them forward for board permission. Absolutely.
You brought that up, Karen, back at the last board meeting. You made the comment, and that's at timestamp 2645 of the August 18th board meeting, that that you would bring this to the board. And that's
right.
Okay. And but now she's hired, and we're not bringing her to the board. She hadn't even had her background check done yet.
Anita's had a background check done.
Before that August 18th meeting?
I don't know what day she got it done. But at that point, she'd already been talked to. We were waiting for the check to come back, the background check to come back. So, and then Bill's like, I was like shocked when he said that. And then it's like, oh, no big deal. Okay, we'll go forward. So
So was that position posted anywhere?
it's always posted.
Where was it posted at?
I have no idea.
Who posted it?
It has been on the web. It was on the website. I think it's still in HOA start employment.
So it's what I'm not going to sit here and trap you. But Stacy quit on what day?
June 10th.
No.
She officially resigned June 10th. And then on July 29th is when she
Quit for good.
quit
So
for good.
So you already started that hiring process then after she first put her notice in?
I don't think so.
Well, then
Well, we
why
always-
was, then the only thing posted on the website was exactly what's posted when they transfer over from the old website to the new site, and that's that date in June.
Okay.
So I don't know where you're saying that it was posted on the website.
My understanding, I haven't looked, but that the application was on the website. Anita,
Correct.
okay, so Anita walked in and Sean is like, well, she was talking about needing a job. Her husband wanted her to get a job. And Sean's like, you should apply. So she did. So wasn't like we went out and looked for her.
An application form and posting to the general community on openings are two wildly different things. We have got to operate under an equal opportunity umbrella, and to just have someone jostle in knowing that there's an opening and no one be notified in the neighborhood to have a right to at least apply. Also, we're not doing ourselves a service to have enough people to pull from. I understand there's not going to be an overwhelming number of people applying, but you may get 2 or 3, and it's in our best interest to pick the best candidate, not to shut everyone else out and say that it was posted somewhere, because I have not seen it posted. I have not seen a job opening posted. I haven't seen a request for applications. I haven't seen a Facebook notification that says we have this position that we're looking for candidates. If you're interested, reach out to us. None of this has happened. None of it. That's an incredible disservice to ourselves. We got lucky. We got lucky that Anita is I'm giving her. I worked with her for 2 hours, and I'm like, this is good. This is a good decision. But had it not, we can only do that in hindsight. Had it not been a good decision, now we turn around and start blaming people of theft. You see where I'm tracking with this? And we don't even have a handbook for our own employees. Don't you think it would have been advantageous to establish that before you even hired the next person? Because the way I see it is we're setting all of ourselves up for a lawsuit. If any employee can walk in there and be like, whatever I want today, I'm just going to make it up and send it to a lawyer. Because that's the reality, Karen. That is the reality. And I got the luxury of being a beneficiary of that. So setting our emotions aside on how we all feel, we still at the end of the day have to get shit done. And if it takes us 6 years to figure out one website, 3, 4, 5, 6 clicks, I don't think we're the right person for the job. Like, I didn't ask for Steve to be the gatekeeper because I thought he was just a friend. I know he can stand up there and do that and get stuff done. He's managed a business. He's managed a dealership, several employees for years and sold it. Successful business. I know that about him. And he also has the ability to say, okay, I'm overwhelmed. I got to step down, or I need more help. I allow him to tell me that on a day-to-day basis. I literally stopped doing my paid job to help him get our landowners where they need to be. And the fact that you don't see this is the biggest problem that we have internally right now. Because that finger of yours, it does not know how to turn inward on itself.
Okay, let's I understand your comments, Ryan, and I understand emotionally you have bottled up a lot of this, but we need to find solutions. We've established that there's a problem. So the idea of getting a handbook, I think that has been brought forward earlier, and I think obviously that's going to be a good thing to do. We need to be able to look at these employees. I would agree that I've not seen an application or an open call for applications for office personnel. And the statement that was made concerning uh, being able to do that so that we're open to anyone who wants to come in and put in an application. Right now, that would be a big problem. That again, we're trying to get away from these problems. And I know, Karen, earlier you said that Arlene and Shauna both have BOLA opportunities that they can do, and maybe they can, but we've got to figure out a way to get past that, what has been considered or identified a toxic work environment. And some of this, as I look at it from the outside looking in, we don't have any communications. We need people are not following through with letting everybody on the board know, and we need to change that. That we need to be more open. If we're allowed to make decisions as directors, that's great, but it has to be notified to the other six what we're trying to do and where we're going with it, so that not only are we informed, but we can also help. That's part of the team that we've created here with the seven of us. We've got to be able to work through these things. So if we can know what's going on and get an update regularly, and it only takes a few seconds to create the email, and you know, I don't have trouble getting them. I get 30 to 40 of them a day from members and different people who are involved up there. I think that we can all handle that information flow. But I also, we have a wealth of knowledge and things that can be done. And, you know, we have to utilize all of our strengths. And I think the only way we can do that is to let everybody know what's going on and what's happening. And I, I I'm glad that we've been able to do this. I don't want this conversation to be hurtful to anybody, as I said at the beginning, but we we've got to get our feelings out, because they seem to be bottled up, and quite honestly, I can't deal with them every day. I've got too many of them, and I would like to see some of this get washed out, be able to work together, come up with the solutions that we need to come up with, or maybe some changes, whatever we need to do. We need to move forward and do it uh, as what we've got. So we'll go from there.
Hey, Bill, this is Rob. Just a suggestion or a question, I guess, with possible suggestion. Can we, as a board, look at bringing on an office manager that we pay a very fair salary to, that can actually professionally manage the office as a full-time employee, and then maybe we've got two part-time employees that report to that person. And then that manager, they can be the one that ends up doing, cash drops and dealing with all that kind of stuff. And we get away from the volunteer stuff, and to fund it, we dip into the volunteer fund committee for the next 6 months or something like that. Is that something that we can possibly do? And at the same time, I also think that we could reach out to Kevin Harker and ask, hey, have you written an employee manual, an employee policy manual handbook for other HOAs? I'm sure they have. So hopefully they've got a template so that we're not recreating the wheel. And then we kind of,
Chat GPT.
we, yeah, we quickly fix kind of two critical things that are kind of urgent for us here. So
Yep. Well, yeah, I've wanted to do the office manager thing since the second year I was on the board, and yes, it's something that can be done. I've put a lot of thought into different one. Finding that person is critical. Funding it, we would really, what it would do is it would eliminate what we do with Fieldstone. So all of that money that we dedicate towards that, other than the CPA money, an office manager would be able to do that. And I've checked with other HOA management companies to find out what they do, and we've been able to come up with there's already a job description that I have that you can put out to see who can fill it and that sort of thing. And yes, I think that would take a lot of the burden, and that's a whole lot of what the last board was trying to do with hiring Fieldstone. It was just, boy, people just, I didn't realize the uh, terrible attitude all of the members had, or the majority of the members had, against Fieldstone until the annual meeting last year. But that was the logic to get somebody to come in and do that, and they could do it. And this isn't a very complex management situation, but you have to be able to pay somebody, and it has to be an affordable job. So I don't know. I would assume that it would have to be somewhere between $60,000 to $80,000 a year, if not more. Although Fieldstone was at $109,000. So
Yeah, but Bill, don't get hung up on just one avenue here. Don't get hung up on staying in a single lane. There's many ways to dice this up to get us going. Like, even if we considered some type of consultant manager, as in like, we just need you for 2 days a week. It's not their primary job, so they're not looking for 80 to 120,000 a year. I'm not saying that we'll get it. I'm just saying that we could reach out with Indeed. We can look through Indeed. We can look out. We can reach out with what other. I'm pulling a blank on the other website options to put these feelers
yeah.
out.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that'd be great,
apply.
because I think that there's great value in having that person, and it just takes all of the uh, a lot of the headache, not all, but a lot of the headaches from decisions, because they're professional people who understand professionally what they're supposed to do. And it's not like talking to Julie at Fieldstone, who has no letters behind her name whatsoever. So I, yeah, I would be open to just about anything along those lines. I just think it's a positive all the way around. Great idea, Rob. Okay.
Hey, Bill, can we
Yes.
make a motion?
Well, we can come up with some stuff that's within the executive session and do a motion, and then we have to make that motion outside once we leave executive session, and make a motion so it becomes part of an actual minutes that would go towards results of the meeting. So yes, you could talk about making a motion, having it set up. We can have the discussion and be ready, because that's what we would do now. So that when we make the motion outside the executive session, it's all discussed, ready to go, and all we have to do is vote on it and go.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to change the hiring process.
Okay.
You ready to hear it?
I am going to write as fast as I can. Go ahead, shoot.
Okay. When Three Rivers is considering an increase in staffing, or when needing to fill a vacancy within the front office, specifically a paid position, this process should be announced at a monthly regularly scheduled board of directors meeting. At a minimum, 1 month recruitment period should be enforced, allowing all Three Rivers LOA's official communications to broadcast the opening. After the month-long recruitment period has expired, all candidates should be identified to the board of directors, with each board member given an opportunity to attend the interview process. After the candidate is selected for hire, post passing the background check, the candidate being selected should be brought to the board one final time for approval of the board of directors.
Okay. If there's a motion on the table, is there a second?
Second.
Ryan? And the discussion? Good job writing the motion, by the way, Dave. That I didn't get it all, but you can mail or email me the verbiage. I got most of it.
If
All
you
right.
have it in writing, Dave, can you put it in the chat?
That would be a skill set that I do not have.
Is it going to be emailed to us so I can read it again? I don't oppose it. I just want to read
No,
it again
no.
because it was a lot of information.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We'll publish it as minutes, so do that. Hearing no discussion, we'll call for a vote.
Oop, Karen,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Tom, or Tom left, didn't he?
Yes, correct, he did.
Okay, Morgan,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
Okay. And we'll reestablish, you'll reread that motion outside of executive session, and we'll just do a vote on it from there. So it'll already be identified as a motion and seconded, so. All right, anything else to discuss here as far as gate office employees?
I got another proposal for with motion to accept.
Okay, this is a proposal that you have,
Mm-hmm,
and you're asking the board to approve the proposal, and you're proposing some action with it.
correct.
Okay, got it.
Okay. After all of our discussion that we've had here tonight, I propose the board the following changes. A search for a paid full-time office manager position to be held by a full-time Three Rivers landowner resident with trained working knowledge of the office. Also, processes tickets generated by Proptia and Frontgate software. This would also be a step toward moving away from Fieldstone down the road. This would also cover the gap in the duties of the deputy treasurer work, making weekly deposits to the bank for the office. And that is per the Three Rivers Landowner Association standard operating procedures. This would align the work that the Communications Committee, Board of Directors Secretary, Gate Task Force, and Gatekeeper, and Board of Directors Secretary work through.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Or yes, a motion for this proposal. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. I have a question. In the first portion, you were mentioning that it would be a resident or member of the Association of Three Rivers. Out of the 1,400 people that are landowners, this person, do we have people like that with this skill set?
What if we rewrote it to say that, how would you say it? Our first, how would you put it? Where your first selection would be through your landowners, but if that doesn't pan out, then you would revert to pulling from a greater pool. But that's not the verbiage I would put. But
No, it would be easier to describe the position and say that it's preferably staffed by a Three Rivers Association member. And that only gives you a preference. If that preference isn't satisfied, then you just move on to the next.
Does that get us in trouble from the equal opportunity thing that you mentioned earlier, Ryan?
Yeah.
My suggestion would be, maybe these are great ideas. I'm agree with Morgan that we need to be able to process through them. So could we get them emailed as a motion proposal for the next meeting so that we
Sure.
can all look at them? And obviously Dave didn't jot these down tonight while he was in the middle of this meeting. So he's been thinking about it, which is awesome.
Almost every bit of it was, Karen, on this last one.
Oh, well, good for you.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great proposal.
So, yeah, so let's
I will like you know what? I don't have any problem wordsmithing this. I think everybody understands the direction of this proposal.
Well, yeah, but that's, wait a minute, that's what it is. It is a proposal. So you're proposing this, and what we're proposing is to move forward on this action. So you've made the proposal. Ryan has seconded the fact of it. And if we want to move forward on the proposal, then we need to vote on it. We can vote on outside this, and during the next meeting, we can turn it into, okay, we have found somebody and this is what they're going to do. There's a couple of things that I would add to it is the job description. And I think I have a standard that can be followed as far as the job description for this person. We just have to maybe tweak it a little bit to match some of our idiosyncrasies, but I think we can make that work. But I think we can go ahead tonight with the proposal that we want to move forward with this proposal, and it becomes an action item, and we're moving forward to try to get this done. So,
Bill, I understand that, but I couldn't write fast enough. So I don't think it's fair to ask us all to vote on. We can't vote in executive session anyhow,
right.
but why? We know where we want to go. It could be, give us a chance to look through it. When
Karen,
you guys make,
how about if I print both, get these both out and to an email to all of us?
that would be awesome.
Okay,
Because
I'll do
then
that.
it gives everybody a chance to process through it. And we know where we want to go. We can go forward with it and bring it forward as a motion and second at the next meeting. Then everybody's had a chance to ask any questions, process through it. Because what a motion does is sets your guidelines for going forward. And we want to make sure we've covered our loopholes. These are big deals. And this is what's got us into trouble before is the motions aren't, you go back and read the motions and you're like, what the heck were they thinking? So could we just be intentional with this? And I totally support
I'm
it.
game. I'm game for wordsmithing this. I really
Yeah.
am.
That would
And
be awesome because it's a great idea.
Yeah,
It-
do
it
we
needs
have
to be.
to,
Absolutely.
do we need to include anything in there about, the funding for this position?
No, because this is strictly a proposal.
Okay.
This isn't the motion to adopt this would include all of the items, the money, the description, the job description, any other details that would have to come in. And I see Karen's point, and I understand that the motion to follow through on this would be important. I also think that this is a proposal that needs to be on the table. If we're willing to accept, when we come out of executive session, if we're willing to accept that we're going to move forward with this, then I'm on board. We need to move forward. This is good stuff. The motion to change that he had made, that Dave had made earlier, I understand that that was pretty direct. All of the things had been itemized on that. And yes, you should have the opportunity to read it, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But on the proposal, I feel the same thing that the six of us who are left here need to be able to be sure that we're all in agreement, or we know who's in disagreement as to whether the proposal is an action item we need to move forward on and keep moving forward on it, not just table it to sometime in the future. So that's my point.
I don't want to table it. I think it's a great idea. Go forward. I just want to be able to dissect it and say, if this goes with this, kind of like Rob asked those questions need to be made. So,
Okay.
however, it's a great, we just need to make sure we're intentional with this. So that's all.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the proposal itself indicates intent. the details within the intent are what we're lacking. And that in itself, I'm not sure. I'm kind of torn in a couple of directions here. So
Can't we just say that, when we come out of executive session, that the board agreed to go forward with Dave's proposal and he'll flush it out and bring it to the next meeting for agreement?
yes, we could do that. That would be it. That would create an action that we could do. So yes.
Yeah, I
Right.
just would just like to, I agree with Morgan.
Yep.
We just need to read it and ask questions about it. And
Okay. Okay. Dave, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm fine. Like I said, this was jotted, a lot of this was jotted down here while we've been here. I definitely think it needs to be wordsmithed better. I'm not, like I said, this other one, I got a chance to work for quite a while. So, yeah, I'm good. If we keep pursuing this angle, I'm fine with it.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That pretty well would cover what I had. If anything that anybody else has that they feel the need. And Dave, thank you for your work here at the end. And Ryan, thank you for your explanation up front. I think it helped me, I know. And Karen, thank you for fielding all of the comments and coming back with some logic. Hopefully we can all get this thing worked out and we'll be okay. So,
I just do have one
yes,
statement.
go ahead.
This was an executive session, encouraged to speak our mind. So I will be really disappointed if it is taken out that I said anything about Stacy taking the money. It cannot go outside of these walls because that's your sworn duty. But when you ask those things, that's a concern I have. So it cannot leave this meeting.
And to echo that, Karen, I expect the same in return from coming out of the office, that Ryan can shove that phone up his ass, or he can stick this program and stick it where the sun don't shine. I don't want to hear any more of that coming out of the office from anybody.
I truly never, ever, ever said that.
I don't know how many people, I can line them up for you.
Well, please, because
I'm saying that came out of the office. So
it could have come out of the office, but it is not a statement that I made.
That's the culture that needs to change too.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's entertain this. Since now we've soured the organization of which we've established, why don't we consider rearranging a little bit? Like, what's to say that Karen has to be the manager of the office? What are our options here? Because now we have an employee who sat in the middle of this and 2 employees that quit under management of a certain person. What's to say that it wouldn't be a good look for us to do a slight rearrangement here?
There isn't any. We vote on those at the beginning in the April meeting or May usually, where the assignments are made, and assignments are just that. They're assignments. They can change anytime, but we have to do that at a board meeting, at an open general board meeting, so that that's not an executive session process. But if that's something that we want to entertain and look at this upcoming meeting, we can do that. That's nothing is written in stone there. So.
It raises a good question. I would, Karen, this is Rob. This sounds like a lot of work, the office. So do you want to continue being the director involved with the office?
Well, I would love to have a working relationship and step forward with where we're all going. So yes, I don't mind doing that. Anita's a great person and she'll do a good job. But communication is always, we felt blindsided on many decisions that were made. And if we can have conversations go forward, absolutely. I think I work as hard for this association as every other board director does. And yeah, I would like to be involved with that.
Great. Yeah, no, that answers my question. I just want, because sometimes, who knows, you could be sitting there going, God, I want to be done with this involvement with the office, or no, I want to keep, doing what I'm doing, that sort of thing. So I just wanted to hear from you, like what your
Yep.
thoughts were on that. That's why Ryan is in communications now and I'm no longer in communications.
Yep.
Okay, so I was asked this question, so I'll return it. If we do rearrange, positions, we discussed this at the next board meeting, which I would like to do. Karen, would you be willing to help in the office outside of being the direct manager?
What do you mean?
Would you be willing to help equally now that as what you do now, as if you were not the manager, as if you were, I'm doing communications, Rob's, doing treasurer, and Bill's doing president. Morgan, I guess we don't have a title. Tom doesn't really have a title, I guess. If you were to slide over outside of office manager, would you be willing to assist equally?
Would I still be involved? Is that what you're asking me?
Would you be
I guess
willing
I'm not.
to help equally with the position title change as you are now, is my question. Like if I were to if someone were managing the office outside of yourself and they called you, would you be able to answer the phone and would you be able to respond in a timely manner to a text message or email, or show up if someone were to ask, can you cover a shift? Would you do that equally if you were not the manager?
Well, I did it when I wasn't the manager. So yeah, this is
Okay.
my association also. So, we're all in this together. We're all working towards the same thing. So, yeah.
To give a little history of that particular point is Jeff Thompson was the director in charge of the office for several years, and Karen assisted him for all of those years. And so, yeah, I will support the fact that I believe that she will support any decision that the board comes up with. So, yeah, I would throw that in as far as I can.
Okay.
So
Good.
who's covering the rest of the shifts this week that Anita can't cover?
Well, at this point, until we can get this figured out, we're going to have to just close the office a couple days.
Who decided that?
I find that unacceptable.
Okay, so what is your suggestion?
How do you think the rest of these landowners are going to feel about that? Now they have no access to their mail, to their boxes that come in there that are still there. Yeah, I just feel this is a total, that doesn't work.
Well, Karen has a full-time job, so coming up and filling in during the day is not going to help. Personally,
We're not asking that. You haven't even asked me what I would do. You haven't asked what Dave would do. You haven't asked what Steve would do. You haven't asked what Michelle would do. You haven't asked what Stacy would do. We haven't asked anybody. This is the point I keep coming back to. And I know, Bill, you said there's a lot of emotions. I'm regurgitating what other landowners are saying. Yeah, I'm pissed at certain things, but I'm not saying anything that I'm just making up. And this is why I am serious on entertaining the fact that we rearrange management of the office. I think it's in our best interest to do that. I think whatever the motion needs to be, whether it's now or later, I think we need to make that decision and rearrange to, if someone wants to take over communications, hey, I'll give you the reins right this second.
Yeah, and that, right, it will be an item that will be on the agenda for this coming meeting and weekend after next, and we will go over it and we will look at all of the assignments that are there, and we will rearrange whatever might need to be rearranged. That's not a problem. You've got that. I understand, but right now, I have to appreciate Dave's question and that there's nobody that's going to cover these days, and that's really, I agree that that's not acceptable. And I know I have asked Stacy about being there, and she can't cover everything. She has her own business to run, so that's not necessarily a complete solution to it. So we have to find some people who are capable of coming in and filling in or helping. So I don't know if anybody
I'll
who's
work on that. I'll
rostering-
work on that, but we're not going to leave it closed.
I'll
We got-
help too. I'm here this weekend. I'm willing to help equally.
Can't leave it closed. We got to, if we're going to be a business, we got to be open.
Yeah. Well, too many of the landowners depend on that.
Absolutely.
And so it has to be open. So, okay, Dave, we'll let you work through that. Keep everybody informed of what you find for what goes on. So,
I will.
okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
I guess that's everything that we should have. There's a couple of questions I have outside of executive session that I want to cover real quick. I do want to remind, as Karen said a moment ago, this is executive session. Everything that's done in here is absolutely confidential. Absolute. Even in casual conversation, we cannot jeopardize the trust that each director puts in each other director. If we're here and I allowed everybody to speak their mind and say some things that I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have, but at least we got the laundry out, but it's our laundry. We're going to keep it in our basket. Please do not violate the confidentiality that all of us feels towards the rest of us. So I would appreciate that. So if we could get a motion to leave executive session at 7:44, I'll entertain that.
I'll second it.
No, Morgan, you're going to make the motion.
Okay, I make the motion to end this executive session.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second. Rob.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, call. Dave,
Karen.
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Tom.
He's gone.
Oh, you went bye-bye. That's right. And I'm a yes.
Okay.
So I'll be a yes too.
Ryan.
Ryan, get Ryan.
Yep,
Ryan.
Ryan.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so we are out of executive session. We do have a motion. I will ask at this particular point in time, outside executive session, Dave had made a motion and a proposal. Are we moving both of those forward to the next regular meeting for further discussion, if any needed? Dave will supply copies to everybody and we can move from there. Or do we want to vote on either or both now?
I say we move them forward. And no vote tonight.
Okay.
If Karen wants to read it after I get it written out, sent to her, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Then we're going to use for clarification purposes, there are 3 agenda items which we will be discussing at the upcoming meeting. Your motion, your proposal, and the distribution of assignments for directors. So that's currently what I have for the 3 items. Okay. I do have a couple of questions that I would like to get some clarification on while I have all of you together. One, there seemed to be this set of keys that float around that are needed for somebody in the office. Dave needs to have a set of those keys. Dave, do you have them now or?
I have my own set of keys.
Okay, but are they?
Ed Beatscheck gave me his keys.
Okay, and they cover everything within the office.
They cover everything in the office. There is a new key for the library for what that amounts to. There's only one key for that. I have the other key that is in the lockbox on the library itself.
Okay.
So those are the only two keys that will get you into that library now. I wanted to get that locked up. I changed out the lock set. So we got all that electronics in there now, and I didn't want anybody just waltzing in there without somebody knowing they're in there.
Okay. The lock boxes, with it was mentioned that there's $80 missing from the quilt group. Are the lock boxes in the office on the wall and assigned to what they needed to be assigned to, Ryan, or has that idea been postponed?
I have not been in the office until today. Not spoken to anybody in the office until today. And what I saw in the office today, there was no lockbox on any wall.
Okay.
The only one that I know of that wants a lockbox is the John Gottbreath for the gun club.
Okay.
I do not want a lock. Jeff Swatter does not want a lockbox. I haven't been able to get a hold of the lady at For Bears and Quilts yet to see if they want one, and I don't know what the fourth one was.
They're not all assigned. I bought 4 because we do up 2 to 3. If
Right.
we need 6, if we need 8, if we need 10, cool. If we only need 2, cool as well.
Okay, so we'll look forward to getting those. The cash drop, Rob, you had mentioned that Stacy was there and had been interviewed, and Ryan, I believe you spoke that you knew of another person. Can we open up that to get applications? I think Stacy's already provided us with an application, but can we do that, Rob? Because that's going to fall under your heading.
Yeah, I think my next step is to email Kevin Harker first to see if we can even solicit volunteers to do that type of work without them looking like employees. And then
Okay.
once he gets back, I'll let everybody know what he says.
Okay. The one next to last thing, I was notified that Ed Bartholomew received a $500 fine for driving on the runway, and there was another $500 fine issued. I don't know. Do I need to contact Mike Patton? I know he's resigned. The board has to vote on that fine. Usually they're $50 fine, $100 fines. I mean, there's a process within our bylaws that we're supposed to follow. And I know we didn't vote on any issuance of $500 fines. Does anybody have a clue on where those came from and who I need to talk to?
Mike would be your best bet.
Okay.
I don't remember issuing a fine for $500 to him, but a lot going on. So
There you go. Okay.
I've heard of fines, but that's the first time I've heard the dollar amounts.
Yeah, well, I hadn't heard of any fines, and then they come up to be a fine, which is that size of a fine is a fourth offense issue, and it's only can be okayed by the board. And I know that I know we haven't talked about fining anybody $500, so I will look into that and report back to you guys. Last thing. The dumpsters are full. They were closed up. I was notified today that they were full. I talked to Penny about it. She notified me that the company that picks up the dumpsters had been notified to change when they are picked up. Penny had it already scheduled and then it was changed. Do we know why that date was changed? The change actually came out of the office, Karen, so it looks as though Shauna made the change.
I'm sorry, somebody buzzed me. And so would you
Oh.
please restate that? My
Yeah.
understanding when I called was that, I'm sorry, Bill, that the dates were coming, they were coming in on Thursdays to pick up the dumpsters. That was their general day to come in on Thursday when I called to have a pickup. So, I apologize, I overstepped. So say it again, ask the question again.
Well, Penny had it ready to pick up. According to Penny, her schedule was to pick up tomorrow, and it had been changed to Thursday. And she asked them who had made the change, and she said Shauna's name was the name that they had given that had instigated the change. So since they're full and the lids are down, we need to get somebody up. So they agreed that they were going to try to get a truck up tomorrow to get them picked or changed out. And then also, they did not have a date when they were going to go from 2 dumpsters down to 1. And Penny has always had it such that at the end of October, they take out one of the dumpsters, leave us with 1, and then they change that out every 2 weeks. So I think she reinstigated that for the dumpsters. I didn't want
Great.
to start confusing too many things, but that's what they have to do. So,
Well, I know that last week the dumpsters were not full. And so the office staff has always called for the dumpster dump. And when I called, when I was there, they were like, oh, we only pick up on Thursdays. Okay, not saying they were directed that, but that was the impression I got, was that that's their day to pick up for us.
okay.
So it could change. I mean,
Yeah. Well, no, Penny, they've sold their property, and so she's anxious to find somebody who can do garbage. So we're going to need to work on that too. But yeah, I just was trying to catch up on what was going on so that we knew, and we did, start having black plastic bags laying all over the place. So they've got it covered in, and we've got so that we can get it done, and we'll be good. So, all right, that answers my questions.
so Anita called this morning for a garbage pickup. Is this?
Oh, then they must have been really confused because Penny was calling probably at about 10 or 11 o'clock. So that must be why they're coming up tomorrow. So, okay, we've got it done. And,
Hey, Bill.
Yes.
They're not coming up tomorrow. They're coming up maybe, but they're coming up Thursday. Maybe tomorrow, but for sure Thursday. So they'll probably stick to their regular Thursday schedule.
Oh, well, that isn't what Penny told me. She said that they were coming Wednesday. So, okay.
Yeah, that's what Steve was in there today also, and told me earlier today that they were going to try to make it Wednesday, but it was probably going to be Thursday. So it's changed since then. It's changed.
Okay. All right. Well, we need to get that back on the schedule. So if Thursday's the schedule time, then we'll have to figure that out. Okay. And then I got to get a job description written up for the garbage person. So Penny is working on that. So we'll go from there. Okay.
I got one more question.
Uh-huh.
To fill these open spots this week, what days do I need, Karen?
Thursday and
Okay.
probably the weekend.
Both Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah. Please.
All righty. I'll work on it. Let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Bill, you were asking about violations. You can see my screen. Before I click back on to anything, there is, if I click this view more, it's just a 7, but I just want to make sure I'm not breaking any rules for whatever session we're in at this point, I can show you those violations and what either they're open or they've been closed and what the resolve is, and it kind of has a name attached. Now, I'm not part of the Rules and Regs Committee.
Right.
This is on the website, so you have access equally that I do. I just want to
Okay.
show you that and share that with you. If you want to see it, I'll click it and go on with it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's on the website and we can find it, then that's good.
There you go.
Okay.
Now, you said, and I thought the same, I wasn't sure that we have to, in fact, the 7 of us vote
Yes.
actually enforce this fine amount. I don't, again, I'm not part of the Rules and Regs Committee. I don't know, this is closed, but I don't know where it goes from here, and I don't know who. I guess Karen is the overseer of the Rules and Regs Committee, correct?
Correct. Yes.
I don't want to speak out of turn here, but this is the information. So it says close the ticket, and that was on 8/17. Notice of violation resolution sent to complainant. So I don't know if that was the proper way to do it. Just showing you what was done through the R&R.
I can follow up on that then. All right. That gives me my place to start. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for the 2.5 hours we've spent together. Unless somebody has something else, then I am going to entertain a motion to adjourn at 8 o'clock.
I'll make that motion, Rob.
Okay.
Dave will second.
Any discussion? Again, thank you all for taking the time out. I'm sorry we have to go through these. I try not to have these meetings, but it seems inevitable. So, and no discussion, call for the vote.
Karen,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Okay. All right. That's it for tonight, people. We will, I guess, get some information from Dave. I will get the agenda out this coming weekend. I'm hoping to get some more consent agenda items in from the chair people, and hopefully we'll have our consent agenda by Tuesday or Wednesday. So, all right. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good rest of your night.
See ya.